Welcome to the program. There is the People's Bench coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel here in Nairobi. For much more, you can scan the QR code right on your screen and you will be able to get a lot about Muthu Silver Springs Hotel. I am your host, Fred Ogweno, and I'm having the honor to host Mr. Anthony Manyara. He is a youth leader and a youth advocate. He speaks for the youth. It is a privilege to have him here so that we can delve into matters, the youth of Kenya, the tears of the youth. Who is going to listen to them and who is going to wipe their tears? That is why we are here. How are you, my brother?
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the bench.
Thank you.
Nice.
It's good, of course, to be on the People's Bench.
Yes.
That is what they call it on the streets.
Yes.
And I'm so much impressed, actually, to be hosted here to speak matters to the youth. Because, the youth are the future. In fact, actually, they are the people of today. We are not just waiting for them to take power. We are not waiting for them to participate in national concerns. The youth is, they are the real people that is going to move progress.
Yes.
In Kenya.
Thank you. I know you do a lot with the youth, but maybe for the sake of those who are seeing you or meeting you on the People's Bench for the first time, you may introduce your father in case there is yourself, father, in case there is something that you feel I've left out about yourself before we get to the real issues.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say that I identify as a comrade because the many people I represent across the region and also in this country are young people, especially within the range of 18 years to 35. I am the president of Kenya University Students Organization, also doubling as the president of East African Students Union. That, of course, is the umbrella body for all the 8 countries in East Africa, representing young people. And I also run an NGO. We do civic participation. We do, civil work. It's called Youth Advocacy Africa. You can check us online. Is www.eafrica.org. We focus on matters governance, matters advocacy, human rights, a plethora of issues, especially pertaining the youth.
Thank you, my brother. We have lost the right honorable, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. We cannot proceed without me giving you time to say something about the legend, Baba.
Yeah, I prefer to say Raila was a father of very many people, and because when Raila was fighting for multi-party democracy, these are the tenets. These are the tenets of freedom that we enjoy up to today. Raila was imprisoned for 6 years, even before he fought for multi-party democracy with the likes of young thugs. That kind of consortium of young people wanting change in Kenya. Remember, there was the first liberation when we had the Mau Mau, and then Raila now, he set the precedence in terms of democracy. Other countries also were freeing themselves from bondage. Raila shaped so many politicians in Kenya. Most of them have looked up to him, including ourselves. I had a rare privilege of working with Raila from 2017. We, having been president of the University of Nairobi, I was the SONU chairman, succeeded the member of parliament from Bekasi East, Babu Owino. We met with Raila when opposition, where I come from Meru, by the way. NASA was very unpopular, and I took power because I believe young people, you don't just sit there to wait to be given leadership. I took power when there were defectors in our region. They went to the opposite camp. I became the de facto leader of NASA. That time I was actually in second year in campus. And that is the first time I met Raila. And for a matter of fact, when you meet Raila, the person, you realize he's totally different from the person you see on top of vehicles campaigning. Raila was passionate about empowering young people. And I'll tell you this because Even after 2017, we went to 2022. I was part and parcel of the national youth team that was campaigning for him. We even actually advocated for his injustices, even in the Supreme Court through Youth Advocacy Africa, and even actually to wrap it all. In 2023, we pioneered what now many Kenyans know as MDD, Movement for the Defense of Democracy, whereby young people came together wearing actually berets, red berets, and also an hat of the police. We came to fight for democracy because we were feeling like Article 27 was not really being taken to, was not being practiced the way we envisioned. So Raila, really, we miss him so much because he was a fighter, he was an iconic leader, and I prefer to tell people that what really limited Raila is only location. Where if Raila was in the United States of America, Raila would have served 2 terms as president. The problem with Kenya is the tribalism, because where you come from can confine you. Remember, if yourself, you are here in Nairobi and you want to leave the country, and you have this potential becoming a national leader, but then you tell yourself, because you're not capable enough, you vie for an MCA position. So what will limit you is the location factor. But if your dream is big, were it not for these all setbacks, Raila would have been president one day. And I feel like actually his death has also exited, has gone with a lot of political careers. And that one we'll discuss much further. Thank you.
You can say a little about it. Some people are going home.
Yeah. I will tell you as a matter of fact, my friend, that there are so many politicians in this country. Come 2027, they will lose their positions because of the fact that they claimed on the back of Raila. And I'm very sure that were it not for Raila saying, Huyu tosha, Yule tosha, in 2027, it will be very categorical and very clear that they will lose their positions. Because most of them even never campaigned. They were given tickets. You know, the only demerit, or rather the only flaw that Raila had is only one. The fact that he created ODM in such a fashion that it almost happened to be, it is his only voice that will give you a ticket. It was not a democratic process. It is him saying that, wewe umetosha pale. Now, if the party structures now open to democratic ways of doing things, I'm very, very sure that so many people will lose their positions. So many people will not even be able to contest, because some of them were not even vocal in parliament. Most of them, they had money in their quotas. Some of them, they had favors from Raila. Now the people who are in charge of the party, they cannot even unite the party itself. If you look at Raila, who he was an institution. He was doing grassroots mobilization to the hinterlands, to the nooks and crannies of this country, kona zote. So right now, it is practically impossible to have a leader who is cementing the relationships that were there in ODM as it was before.
Tell me about those who used to use Raila as a punching bag, particularly from Mount Kenya. There are many who were elected just because of showing Raila as the biggest enemy. How are they going to survive?
If you come to Mount Kenya, even when I was growing up, there are some people who are selling this narrative that Raila is an animal, Raila is a terrible person, is an mchawi, you know, such kind of stories, just to build up this kind of animosity whereby you realize this leader is not patriotic, is not meaning well for the country, you know, and blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, Raila was a national leader. So many leaders there, they incited people, telling them that Raila was a tribal leader. When he comes to power, he'll isolate some quotas, some regions, atachukua mashamba ya Wakikuyu,
nyumba zao wajaluo watalipa rent.
Yes, Luos watatukojolea. You know, there was that narrative. I'll tell you as a matter of fact.
Say it, there is
and
the
I will
people's
tell
bench.
you as a matter of fact, people like to do what we call ethnic profiling, whereby you identify with a certain tribe and try to demean another person, another Kenyan, simply because he doesn't come from where you come from. Mimi singechaguliwa University of Nairobi were it not for Luos. If you come to realize, even for the protests that we have ever had, there are some tribes actually, they will push a cause surpassing or even transcending the factional politics of ethnicity. And some of these people are our brothers and sisters. And that's why we should encourage young people as we continue. That spirit that we saw in Gen Zs when they were doing demonstrations last year, that is what Raila envisioned. A country whereby it doesn't matter where you come from. You still have to identify as a Kenyan before you identify from where you come from. Because all these are just verbal semantics. It doesn't matter where you come from. We are all Kenyans. Yeah.
How powerful was Raila Odinga that he could just declare a public holiday, and he says that let people come at Uhuru Park, and they were coming without you seeing school buses painted yellow near Uhuru Park or near Nairobi. They were just coming.
I will tell you this, and every Kenyan knows, and it is a simple, proven fact. There will be no politician in the near future who will be like Raila. Raila was the only person who could not be arrested. I was in his campaign team. We formed what we called Movement for the Defense of Democracy. I was even arrested. Raila only made one call and I was released from Central Police Station. All charges dropped. Raila is a person in which the government, they could only negotiate with him. They could not kill him. They could not arrest him. They could only listen to him. They could only negotiate. They could only form a coalition. Raila is a person who had a serious following. You know, remember, there is a difference between power and influence. Raila had both. He may not have had, the complete power matrix, whereby you need to be state house, you need to, be in charge of one arm of the government and the other. But Raila controlled the masses. Remember, huyu ni mwanasiasa ambaye every time watu wakitokea maandamano, they didn't need transport. They walked. Imagine walking from all the way from Thika, you come to Nairobi. You walk from Sijui Kibera, you come from Dandora, all these corners of this city. You come for maandamano. And for free, you're not mobilized. Tell me which leader currently mwenye anafanya maandamano bila kutumia pesa. Give me one example. No one. Raila tu, siasa yake, it was based on grassroots mobilization from the hinterlands, from chini, the hoi polloi, all the way up. All these people, they had a touch of Raila. Even in government, when negotiating for certain positions, you had to say, hey, this is, if you either don't identify with the sitting government, you have to say, hey, najuana na mzee. So that kind of influence itself, that is why even aspirants, wengi sana huko nyumbani, they had first of all to seek blessings from Baba for you to get elected, because the common masses, watu walikuwa wanampenda. Yeah.
I hear you. And before we shift gears, allow me to remind you to kindly subscribe to the YouTube channel at The People's Bench, so that anytime we are having this kind of conversation, you will be able to get the notification. My brother, we shift gears to matters, the affairs of the youth.
Exactly.
The cries of the youth in Kenya. You are a youth leader and you interact with them on a daily basis. What is the feeling of the young people in the country, even as we speak? Now,
I think the youth are in a very sad state, a state of quagmire, a place whereby, it's like a limbo kind of situation in which there is a lot of desperation. And this kind of desperation, it comes from enabling factors like unemployment. There is, hopelessness. There's mental health issues. Everything is all tied to money. Are you able to sustain life? When Moi Kibaki was the president of this country, he envisioned something, Vision 2030, whereby we wanted to see how a Kenyan can have a decent living, whereby you can be able to afford the basics, meals, clothing, and so forth. But if you look at the situation that we have in the country today, watu wakifanya maandamano, they are justified to do so because of the problems that they face from their backyards. When this country, the government tells the youth, do not demonstrate, they are postponing a problem, which at the end of the day, this problem will still face them back. It is like trying to stop diarrhea by stitching the anus. It is impossible. It is impossible for you to address a problem by postponing it. The problem that we have in this country, the unemployment question, should be able to be addressed by better policies not postponing the policies. Imagine a normal Kenyan, an average youth, where they come from, you graduate even from a university, there is no jobs, there is no transition plan by the government. All these kind of factors, they will force you, of course, to speak out. Yeah.
A number of times we see the frustration of young people online, people getting into drugs, people getting into all sorts of things. And the government is telling us that things are good. They are telling us that there is the Hustler Fund. They tell us there is the Nyota. They tell us that over 500,000 young people are working in affordable housing. They say that they have taken quite a number outside the country, working in Qatar, working in Dubai, and all these places. Why then are we still seeing quite a lot of youth frustrated?
Well, I'll tell you the problem we have today. It is the fact that majority of the youth are educated. They understand that hapa nayo umenicheza. Kuna mahali umeniambia unanipea pesa fulani, but hii pesa haiwezi nisaidia. Instead of telling them that you're giving them a token, or rather a handout, you're telling them, take this 20,000 and ujisaidie. What project can you do with 20,000? Nataka uniambie. And I will ask any Kenyan, what can you do with 20,000? You cannot build a house. You cannot buy a cow. Maybe an average cow right now is around 100,000, right? You cannot even buy a goat, 20,000 is not enough money to sustain the life of any youth. It would have been much better if you give a group of people, let's say even 10 youths. When I was in the university, I pursued a bachelor's degree in architecture. I'm an architect by profession. We were doing something with containers, whereby you build, you do containers and you do business with them, you integrate them to do low-cost housing and so forth. If at all we had this kind of concept, whereby we say even the containers that are in Mombasa, you give them to youths, then you give them, a group of them, you give them, let's say 200,000 or 300,000. Instead of giving 60 people in a ward, you give them 20,000 each. Why not give a handful people of, 10 people? You give them 200,000, 500,000. Then you tell them, we are going to follow up on this work that you are doing. We are going to follow up on how you use this money. Bring an idea, we fund it. Then you create employment to those other 60 people. In fact, actually, you can extrapolate them to maybe 100. That is impact. You have assisted maybe a family. But ukitumia youth, ukitumia kijana mmoja 20,000, ataenda anunue mizinga mbili ya Hennessy. Hiyo pesa iishe. Atakuwa amejisaidia nini? So in my opinion, really, I think it is because we are headed towards 2027. So it is really a manipulation concept of giving people handouts. 20,000, you give them, you wait for 2027. But remember, you cannot pickpocket a naked man. Hawa watu, hiyo pesa itaisha. Na wakiisha, tunaelekea 2027. These people forget. You give them money today, tomorrow they forget. They will still look at the policies. What is in your manifesto? What did you promise? Ile kitu yenyewe ulisema utatufanyia ile kitambo. Hiyo nyumba ambayo ulisema utajenga, hiyo barabara ulisema utatengeneza, hiyo stima ulisema utaconnect, hiyo maji ulisema utaleta. You will not give me 20,000 to blind me and forget what you promised me. The problem we have is that we have so many educated youths in this country today. They will not forget. And I will tell you as a matter of fact, and it is undisputable, when we come to 2027, the only demerit or rather flaw that I see in this plan is that so many youths may not turn out in big numbers to register as voters. But you see now that is voter apathy. But I know very well there is influence all running around. If you look at in 2022, the voter turnout between the age of 18 to 35 years was around 39.5%. That was on the decline. The trend was moving downwards. If you compare with 2017, it was a decline of around 5.5 thereabout percent. What we are seeing is that youths are getting more enlightened. By the time we reach 2027, we'll have enough numbers for us to make our voices count. And that is why I will use this platform to encourage so many youths, especially the students. There are so many millennials out there. There is also the Gen Zs. The only way you can make real change and real impact in this country, it is for you to change the leadership. Students wanashindanga sana wakisema wanainama. Whereby you skip meals. Leo asubuhi unakunywa sturungi, una postpone njaa mpaka kesho. Wewe umeisikia mambo ya kuinama? Umeisikia mambo ya kuinama, sio? Students have been frying rats. Students have been hunting birds. The youth have been eating funny things which we cannot equate as food. We cannot categorize them as decent food. Now, how will this situation change? Wewe wakati mahali umekaa chini, unajua the problem we have in this country cannot be sorted out through demonstrations. If you demonstrate, yes, you need to have a plan. Political parties form a government. The political parties that do not succeed, they form an opposition. Now, the only way you can put to an end the problems that we face is for you to register as a voter, and indeed look at the manifesto. This is the first time actually in history whereby so many people will clearly look at the manifesto, waangalie waone yenyewe this is practical, this idea is practical. Now, hauwezi sema utafukuza njaa, utafukuza kuinama, utafukuza all these social problems by sitting down there. You need first of all to register as a voter. Ungoje 2027, you identify with a certain political party. Politics is local. You need to also identify with the locality where you come from. And then you put in the right leadership, which is reinforced through better policies.
But my brother, tell me, if we look at the figures that we are seeing at the national level, those who are singing one term, we look at Kalonzo Musyoka, look at Rigiji, Wamalwa, and all these people, they just look more or less the same.
Exactly. I'll tell you what I know very many Kenyans, the frustrations that we have as young people. I'm also forward thinking, and we all have ambitions. The greatest impediment that we have to societal progress is the narrative of the forest being the same, only changing the monkeys. Still, it is a narrative in which we cannot entrust the same people who have been shifting camps, who have been eating together, who have had the same ideas, the same ideologies. They are the same people who are just reorganizing themselves, come through different political parties, and they offer themselves as candidates for 2027. Now, that is the greatest problem we have. But I'll tell you this. Come 2027, there may not be so much changes in terms of the faces. But what I know is that there will be great change. This is the first time, if someone will be contesting and say we have weak opponents, a lot of people will do certain coalitions and there will be a serious force. Maybe the person may not want to vote that person because they want that person, but they want to vote that person to remove this one. You understand the concept? So, in my own opinion, I think what we are looking at is the narrative of change, but also young people, they still have a serious chance to chart their future because there are so many options that will be there. My hope and prayer is that they look at the most sustainable solution to their current problems.
Thank you. You are parting short even as you speak to the young people who are listening to you, those in the universities across the country, those who are watching you abroad. Some of them have lost hope and they think that their world has come to an end. Do we still have hope? Talk to them as we are winding up.
Yes, what I would like to tell young people as myself, the problem we have as the youth, especially the millennials, is what we call quadrifactor paradox. Is what we call quadrifactor paradox. The fallacy of force, whereby you have one wife, 2 children, 3-bedroom house, and 4-wheeled car. You know? You understand that? This whereby a certain person, Mumaliza University, all you need in life to succeed are 4 things. 1 wife, 2 children, 3 bedrooms, and one car, four-wheeled vehicle. That is the four-step fallacy, whereby you become completely comfortable with the possessions instead of purpose.
And if you are a Luo, you don't forget a good music system.
The problem with that issue is that you forget there is a greater agenda beyond yourself. You should transcend factional politics. You should not look at the inner self, the selfishness of yourself. You need to think about the country. Where are we headed as a country? How can you change your country better? And that is why I call upon Gen Zs and millennials. Do not focus so much on possessions, satisfaction in life, Maslow hierarchy of needs, the kind of entitlement, the kind of respectability, because uko na hii kitu, material possessions. First of all, think on better policies to better other people. Before you think about yourself, think how you can enable others, how you can ensure that this society is better for everyone to live in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, we come to the end of our conversation tonight. It has been the People's Bench coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel. And I've been your host, Fred Ogweno, having the privilege to talk to Mr. Anthony Manyara. He is the student, is the leader for the Association of the Students in Kenya and across East Africa, doing a lot to change the lives of the young people. It has been so nice having you, my brother. We do it again.
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
We do it again.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
And say hi to Wangwana huko nje.
Kabisa.
Asante sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.